Today we're going to be working on Unit 3 LT3 notes, basic factoring with the reverse box. So if you can recall from our LT3 notes, the steps for factoring using the reverse box. First, you set up and solve the X. Then you fill in your box, pull out your GFCs, and then write out your factors. All right, let's take a look at number 1. We have x squared plus 10x plus 16. The first thing we need to do is identify our A, our B, and our C. So I know my A equals 1, my B equals 10, and my C equals 16. Now I'm going to set my X up. And to find our product, we're going to take our A times our C, and that goes on top. So 1 times 16 is 16. And then our B is our bottom number. So our B is our 10, so that's going to go right down there. And I'm going to find all my factors of 16. I know 1 times 16, 2 times 8, and 4 times 4. Okay, so now all of those multiply to 16, but which two will add up to 10? Well, I know my 2 and my 8 will add up to 10, so I'm going to put my 2 here, my 8 there, and those two together are going to replace this 10x. So I'm going to keep my x squared the same, my 16 the same, and I'm going to replace that 10x. Okay, so I'm going to start with x squared plus 2x plus 8x plus 16. I'm going to group the first two, group the second two. Now I have to find the greatest common factor of both of them. Well, x squared and 2x both have an x in them, and 8x and 16 both have an 8 in them. I'm going to take my first x out, and it's going to come on the outside, and x squared divided by x is x, and 2x divided by x is a positive 2. Plus, because I divided by an 8, I'm putting my 8 out here, and 8x divided by 8 is going to be 1x, plus 16 divided by 8 is 2. So now I'm checking, do my insides match? X plus 2, 1x plus 2. In fact, they do, because there technically is a 1 right there, so they both say 1x plus 2. So the one of those is going to be my first. So I'm going to say 1x plus 2, my first set of parentheses. My second set comes from what's on the outside. So I have an x and a plus 8. So my second set is going to say x plus 8. And you're done with that one. So number 2, let's identify our A, our B, and our C. So my A is 4, my B is also a 4, and my C is a negative 3. Set up my x. I'm going to take my A times my C. I'm going to find the product of that, or multiply those. So 4 times negative 3 gives me a negative 12. And then I'm going to take my B, which is my 4, and I'm going to put that on the bottom. So my 4 goes here. Now I want to find the factors of 12. I know 1 times 12, 2 times 6, and 3 times 4. Okay, well here it goes. So we know that one of them is positive, but the 4 is positive, and the negative 12 obviously is negative. So one of our factors has to be a negative number. And because the 4 on the bottom is positive, your smaller number is going to be the negative one. So one of these has to be negative. So we just have to figure out which one of those, when you add or subtract, will give you a positive 4. So if I were to put a negative here, and a negative here, negative 1 plus 12 will give me 11, so that doesn't work. Negative 2 plus 6, well, that gives me a positive 4. So I'm going to go with that one. I'm going to put my negative 2 here, my 6 here, and now these two will replace that positive 4x. I'm going to rewrite 4x squared minus 2x plus 6x minus 3. Group them. 4x squared and a negative 2x. I know that they both have a 2 and an x in them. So I'm going to take those out. And 6x minus 3. I know that they both have a 3 in them. So I'm going to take my 2x and put it on the outside. And 4 divided by 2 is 2. X squared divided by x is x. And then because I have a negative there, or a minus, I'm going to keep that. So negative 2 divided by 2 is 1. And x divided by x, those cancel each other out. Plus 3, because I have a 3 on the bottom. 6 divided by 3 is 2, and I still have an x. And negative 3 divided by 3 is going to give me a negative 1. I'm going to look, do my insides match. 2x minus 1, 2x minus 1, yep. So my first set of parentheses is going to be 2x minus 1. My second set comes from what's on the outside. So I have 2x and a positive 3. So I'm going to create a new set of parentheses and say 2x plus 3. Okay, number 3, if there's no number in front of your variable, remember that it's actually a 1. So in this one, my a equals 1, my b equals negative 1 because of that minus before it, and my c equals negative 12. I'm going to set my x up. Start by multiplying my a times my c, so 1 times negative 12. That's going to go right here. 1 times negative 12 is negative 12. And then my b, that negative 1 is going to go on the bottom. So I'm going to stick that negative 1 right there. Now I'm going to find the factors of 12. I know 1 times 12, 2 times 6, and 3 times 4. Okay, looking at those, I need one of them to be negative because I have a negative on top. So which one of those could be negative? Well, remember that your bottom number is a negative 1. So if it's negative, that means that your higher of the two sides, one of those has to be negative. So the 12 is going to be negative, the 6 is going to be negative, or the 4 is going to be negative. Okay, so 1 minus 12 will give me a negative 11. That doesn't work. 2 minus 6 will give me a negative 4, so that won't work. And 3 minus 4, that does give me a negative 1. So I'm going to put my 3 here, my negative 4 there. Take those, and I'm going to replace that right there. So I start at the beginning, x squared plus 3x. Now I'm going to say minus 4x because that 4 is a negative, minus 12. Group these two, group those two. Okay, x squared and 3x, they both have an x in common. And because you have this negative right here, we're going to have to divide by a negative. So always, if you have that negative in the middle, you have to divide by a negative. So I know I'm going to divide by a negative and divide by a negative. So 4 and 12, they both have a 4 in common. So we're going to divide by a negative 4 on both of those. My first x comes out front, x squared divided by x. I'm left with x. And 3x divided by x gives me a 3. Now because it's a negative 4, I'm going to say minus 4. And 4 divided by a negative, or a negative and a negative turn into a positive. So that negative in front of your top, 4x, that's still a negative 4x. So negative 4x divided by 4, negative 4, a negative and a negative turn into a positive. So that leaves me with 1x. And then negative 12 divided by negative 4, again, a negative divided by a negative turns into a positive. So negative 12 divided by negative 4 is going to give me a positive 3. check to see how my insides look. So I have x plus 3, 1x plus 3, those are good. So I'm going to say x plus 3 for my first one. Then I'm going to take what's on the outside. I have an x and a minus 4, and that's going to be my second set. X minus 4. Okay, let's look at number 4. Our A is a 3. Our B equals 13, and our C equals 12. Set up my X. Top is my A times my C, so I need my 3 times my 12. That's going right here. 3 times 12 is 36. So I'll put my 36 there. And my B is my bottom. So that 13 is going to go right there. So now I'm going to find all my factors of 36. I know 1 and 36, 2 and 18, 3 and 12, 4 times 9, and 6 times 6. And remember, you can find those by doing 36 divided by 1. Obviously, it's going to be 1 and 36. And do 36 divided by 2, 36 divided by 3, 36 divided by 4. Remember, if it comes out a whole number, that's an option. Okay, so now I need to make 13. Well, what numbers? Notice your 36 on top is positive and your 13 on the bottom is positive. So we know that none of these numbers are going to need to be negative. So what two numbers added together will equal 13? Well, 9 plus 4 equals 13. So I'm going to put a 4 here and a 9 here. Those two are going to replace that right there. So I'm going to rewrite 3x squared plus 4x plus 9x plus 12. I'm going to chunk those two, chunk those ones. 3x and 4x, they both have just an x in common, or I could say 1x, that means the same thing. And 9 and 12, they both have a 3 in common. My 1x comes out front. 3 divided by 1 is 3. And x squared divided by x is x. Plus 4 divided by 1 is 4. And my x is just left, or cancels out. Then I'm going to say plus 3, because I'm dividing by that 3. 9 divided by 3 is 3, and I still have an x. Plus 12 divided by 3 is 4. Checking to make sure my insides match. 3x plus 4. 3x plus 4. Those look good. My first set of parentheses, 3x plus 4. And then my second set is what's out front of both of them. 1x plus 3. Okay, start like we always do. Identify your A, your B, and your C. So my A equals 6, my B equals 7, and my C equals 2. Set up my X. Multiply my A times my C. Put it on the top. So 6 times 2 is 12. My B is going to be on the bottom. Put my 7 there. Find my factors of 12. 1 times 12, 2 times 6, and 3 times 4. Figure out what I could add together. Well, I know 3 plus 4. So 3 here, 4 there. I'm going to replace these, that 7x with those. I'm going to start with 6x squared plus 3x plus 4 x plus 2. Chunk those out. 3x and 6x squared, they both have a 3x in them, so I'll divide both of those by a 3x. And 4x and 2 both have a 2 in them. My 3x comes out front. 6 divided by 3 is 2. X squared divided by x is x. Plus 3 divided by 3 is 1, and x divided by x, those cancel out. Plus my 2's on the bottom, so that comes out front. 4 divided by 2 is 2, and I still have an x. Plus 2 divided by 2 is 1, so I'm going to check. I have 2x plus 1, yep, and 2x plus 1. Those look good, so my first set is 2x plus 1. My second set is what is out front there, so 3x plus 2. And there you have it. Okay, number 6, x squared plus 9x plus 20. My a equals 1, my b equals 9, my c equals 20. Start my x. 20 times 1 is 20. And then my b goes on the bottom. Find my factors of 20. 1 times 20, 2 times 10, 3 won't go in there, 4 times 5, and now we're on 5, so we're good. So what of those ones, which ones will add up to 9? Well, 4 and 5 add up to 9. So I have a 4 here and a 5 here. Those two are going to replace 9x. The rest of it's just going to be written as is. So I'm going to say x squared plus 4x plus 5x plus 20. Chunk those two, chunk those two. X squared and 4x, divide by x. 5x plus 20, divide by 5. My x comes out front. X squared divided by x, x plus 4x divided by x. It's going to be a plus 4. Plus 5 goes on the outside. 5 divided by 5 is 1x. 20 divided by 5 is 4. And check to see if my insides match. X plus 4, 1x plus 4. Yep, that looks good. And then check and see if my outside goes next. X plus 5. X plus 5. There it is. All right, last page of notes. First, we're going to find our A, our B, and our C. Okay, so my A equals 1, my B equals -1, and my C equals -20. Set up my X. And take my C times my A. So -20 times 1 gives me a -20. And my B goes on bottom. That's a -1. I'm going to find all that. All the factors of 20. So I know 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 3 won't, 4 and 5, and now we're at 5, so I know I'm good. So what two numbers multiply to 20 but add to -1? Because that 1 is negative, that tells me that the bigger of the two numbers, these ones, one of those has to be negative. So that one, oops. or this one needs to be negative. Okay, so 1 minus 20 is going to give me a negative 19. 2 minus 10 is going to give me a negative 8. And 4 minus 5, well, that will give me a negative 1. So those are the two I'm going to use. So I'm going to say 4 here, negative 5 there. Those two are going to replace that negative 1x right there. So I'm going to start with x squared plus 4x minus 5x minus 20. Okay, right away I see that I have this negative right here. So because that negative is right there, I know that these two are going to have to be divided by a negative number. Okay, so let's look back at x squared and 4x. They both have an x in them. And negative 5 and negative 20, they both have a negative 5 in them. X comes on the outside. X squared divided by x is x. 4x divided by x is 4. And then because that is a negative 5 on the bottom, I'm going to say minus 5, start my parentheses. A negative 5x divided by negative 5. Remember, a negative and a negative turn into a positive. So that's just going to give me 1, and I still have an x. And negative 20 divided by negative 5. Again, negative and a negative turn into a positive. So that's going to be plus 4. So I'm going to double check, make sure they look good. X plus 4. X plus 4, like how that looks. So I'm going to say x plus 4, and then I'm going to do what's on the outside, which is x minus 5. There we go. Last one, number 8. First, we're going to identify our A or B and our C. So A equals 1, B equals 10, C equals 24. Set up my x. Take my A times my C, put it right there. 24 times 1 is 24. Find my B, put that on the bottom. So we need my 10 on the bottom. Okay, now I'm going to find all my factors of 24. I know 1 and 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, 4 and 6. 5 won't go in there. Now we're back at 6, so I'm good there. So which two numbers add up to 10? Well, I know right away 4 and 6 add up to 10. So I'm going to do a 4 and a 6. These two are replacing that 10x. I'm start at the beginning. X squared plus 4x plus 6x plus 24. Chunk those and those. X squared and 4x, they both have an x in them. And 6x and 24, they both have a 6 in them. X comes out front. X squared divided by x is x. Plus 4 divided by x is 4. 6 is out front, so I'm going to say plus 6. Start my parentheses. 6 divided by 6 is 1x. And then 24 divided by 6 is 4. So double check. X plus 4. X plus 4 looks good. Okay, and then what's out front of both is your next set. X plus 6. that concludes the notes for LT4. Make sure you ask questions if you have some. If not, you are set to get to work.